Hi, I'm Renelle Golden, and you're listening to the Movie Making Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Atlas VPN.
Atlas VPN is a super easy tool designed to protect your personal data. They use next-generation encryption and safe browse technology to keep your info secure no matter what device you're using. Podcast listeners can get 86% off 2 years of Atlas VPN, plus a free additional 6 months when they sign up using the Movie Making Podcast's exclusive link. Head on over to get.atlasvpn.com/moviemakingpod. That's get.atlasvpn.com/moviemakingpod. With so many benefits and protections, it makes sense why millions of people worldwide use Atlas VPN.
Today we are here with Steve Stoliar. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing fine. How about you, Renelle?
I'm doing good. I'm really excited to talk to you and learn about your history and how you became a writer and some of the cool things that I know you've done through the years. So if you don't mind, let's kind of start at the beginning. How the heck did you become a writer?
I think I had no aptitude for anything else. I cannot repair anything. If something's wrong with my car, you call AAA. That's how you fix it.
Yep.
You know, even as a kid, I liked to write. I remember in 5th grade just writing a short story about an alien that comes down to Earth and a kid befriends it. And they go out at Halloween, and it's the only time they could go out where it wouldn't look weird.
Did this turn into a movie? This sounds like a good movie.
My representatives will be contacting Mr. Is it Spielberg? I don't remember his name exactly. No, it did. It would have been Echoes of E.T. if it didn't predate E.T., but I think I wrote it in 1965.
That's so cool.
I seem to have had a flair for wordplay. And both my parents had good senses of humor, different kinds of humor. My dad liked to tell long, contrived stories, and my mom's side of the family liked dry wordplay, puns.
Almost like what they say, British humor, that type.
Yes, so, although Benny Hill flies in the face of that.
That's true. I grew up with Benny Hill, so that's a good point.
I'm sure that's an interesting story for another day.
Okay, yes. Yeah, some of his stories, yeah. You never know.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
I, for the longest time, was interested in movies, current and old, and that sense of humor, which has kept my nostrils above the waterline through a lot of ups and downs in my life. But I never really thought there was any kind of career involved in entertainment. I thought it's fine to like to sit and watch old movies or engage in banter back and forth, but who's going to pay for that? So I was initially a history major in college at UCLA. I had a lifelong interest in fossils and artifacts and history, world history in the ancient world. Not that being a history major was going to be any kind of shortcut.
Different than a writer, right?
Fabulous wealth. Yes. Oh, here's my degree in history. Now doubloons will rain.
Pay me the big bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was actually getting the job working for Groucho Marx that put me so in the middle of that magnetic pole that it became irresistible for me to try to push against it and say, well, no, it's a remarkable atmosphere and stimulating and inspirational, but I really should be a history major. And so
never too late. Immersing
myself in that atmosphere really pulled me into giving it more serious thought. And so I would try to write sketches and short humorous articles and things like that to kind of clear my creative throat.
At some point, did you just be like, okay, I'm heading to Hollywood, and then end up in Groucho's orbit? Or how did you get
Well, it was
there?
easy to head to Hollywood when you grew up in Los Angeles.
Oh, you were born there.
I was born in St. Louis, but our family moved to LA when I was rapidly approaching 8. So I grew up out here, really.
Okay.
And so it wasn't that big a hop, skip, and a jump to Beverly Hills.
Wow.
I don't remember what your specific question was.
So you ended up in Groucho's orbit. So did you get a job at a studio, or did you set out looking for him because he was like your childhood hero?
He was my childhood hero. I became increasingly obsessed with the Marx Brothers, and specifically Groucho, right around high school. And all I wanted to do was meet him and shake his hand and thank him for all the laughs. But I didn't think there was much chance of that because he was old. And from news reports, I saw that he was getting frail. And I thought, there's just no way our paths are ever going to cross. But boy, I could die a happy kid if I could just shake his hand and maybe get his autograph, but don't push things. And instead, how can I encapsulate this? When I was at UCLA, I started a petition drive to put pressure on Universal Studios to bring out Animal Crackers, which was the Marx Brothers' second film that had been made for Paramount. Right. And Universal bought up the old Paramount films, which included Animal Crackers, but because essentially a clerical error, the rights had reverted back to the authors of the stage play. Oh. And Universal didn't think there was any reason to spend good money to clear the rights to an old black and white Marx Brothers movie, which was heresy to all my friends because we were all Marx Brothers fanatics. And this was like their second film, and Groucho plays Captain Spaulding, and he has the line about shooting an elephant in his pajamas. So I got in touch with Groucho's people, I guess you could say, and he came to UCLA, and there were newsmen and crowds of T-shirt, blue jean, tennis shoes wearing hippie kids surrounding us.
Just waiting.
And talking. And I said, Groucho, I'm very happy to be meeting you after all this time. And he said, well, you should be. And then Erin Fleming, who was the young woman who was sort of in charge of his life at that time, said, this is Steve Stoliar. He's the one who's trying to get Animal Crackers released. And Groucho said, well, so did you get it? And I said, well, not yet, but we're working on it. And he said, well, you better or I'll fire you. I said, I didn't realize I was working for you. How much are you paying me? And he said, a little less than nothing. And I couldn't believe I was sitting next to my hero, trading quips. And we talked to the news people about our plight, trying to get this movie out. Yeah. And Universal relented and cleared the rights and brought it out. And it broke the house record at the UA Westwood that had been set by the French Connection. Wow. So it was very gratifying for me to see a long line of kids waiting to see this old movie.
And you made that happen. That's amazing.
Well, the phrase labor of love is thrown out a lot, which is probably the best thing to do with it.
I think when you're a writer, there are a lot of labors of love.
But this was that. And because, well, I had a couple of summer jobs, and this was in 1974. A couple of summer jobs fell through. And it was a combination of feeling like I really don't want the Groucho connection to end, but there's no reason for me to be in touch with him now that the movie's out. But I need a job. So I called and got Erin Fleming on the phone.
Oh, wow.
And I said, is there anything at all that you think someone might be? And she said, well, actually, I used to be Groucho's secretary.
Oh.
But now I'm his manager, and there's so much fan mail to deal with because of all the renewed interest in Groucho. And we need someone who really knows their Marx Brothers to put all of his memorabilia in order that goes to the Smithsonian after he's gone. And I'm thinking, wow. please. And sure enough, I was hired to work right inside his house. I could make my own hours.
Oh, wow.
I was welcome at the lunch table. There was no sense that the help ate in the kitchen or anything like that.
So you got to spend a lot of time with him.
Yeah, I was being paid money to just immerse myself.
Do what you love.
Literal dream come true, because I used to dream about meeting Groucho, and they were vivid dreams. And then as I would start to wake up, I would think, damn, it was only a dream. So here I am sitting at the lunch table asking Groucho about what life was like at the turn of the 20th century and vaudeville and the people that he knew. And it was just an astonishing experience for a kid. And so the positive aspects of it were endless.
Wow.
The downside was getting close to my hero as he's fading out. So I have a front row seat to his curtain. And then dealing
with... Were you nearby when he passed?
Yeah, I was still there.
Wow.
I worked all the way through to the weekend after he died.
Oh, wow.
And things had gotten very tempestuous at that point because there was a big
fighting
legal battle between Groucho's son Arthur and then Aaron Fleming for who should be in charge of Groucho. And I was caught in between. Arthur didn't trust me because Aaron had hired me. And Aaron didn't trust me because in my deposition, I was honest about how verbally and emotionally abusive she could be. So sort of stuck in the middle of the referee between these warring factions. But I was there to the end. So, dealing with his mortality and dealing with her mercurial... I mean, she was later diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic.
Oh, wow.
So putting a frail elderly man in the charge of a woman who lives in a separate reality is really a tough thing. And I was just this 20-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, it was all alien to me. I grew up in a very middle of the road, low key household. And here are these big personalities.
Yeah, that would be a little intimidating. What, you went on to make a documentary about him, or did you end up doing that?
I've worked on documentaries on Groucho and other people. Yeah, there was one called Inside the Marx Brothers that I produced. I wrote it. Pardon?
Did you ever get to meet like the other Marx Brothers, or were they all passed at the time?
Chico and Harpo had died years earlier when I was a kid. But the two straight men, Zeppo and Gummo, were still alive. And they lived in Palm Springs, and they would come up from time to time and visit. And it was remarkable to sit and watch 3 of the 5 Marx brothers at the dinner table, being funny and thinking, what must it have been like when all 5 were alive and at the height of their power?
So alive.
I also have the distinction of having dated the same girl Zeppo dated, because I had a date set with her, and Aaron Fleming said, Zeppo's coming up for dinner tonight. Why don't you come by? And I said, well, I would, but I have a date. And she said, bring her. And I thought, oh, this is good. So we arrived, and Zeppo kind of took a liking to her. He sort of picked up where Chico left off in terms of an eye for the ladies. And he had recently lost his second wife to Frank Sinatra.
I thought you meant
Barbara Marx became Barbara Sinatra. So Zeppo was single in 1974, and I was 20 and she was 19. So after she and I broke up, I had a couple of photos I wanted him to sign. So I sent them to him with a cover letter saying, well, Linda and I broke up. If you have any advice for the lovelorn, I know you've been around the block a few times.
He moved in after?
He called me from Palm Springs. See the Zeppo box. I hope I'm not bothered. No. Listen, I got the photos. God, I was good looking back then. And listen, I don't want to step on your toes, but do you think that Linda would go out with me?
Oh,
and
my.
I thought, this is really weird. I'm asking for advice for the lovelorn, and he's hitting on...
He wants your woman or your old ex-woman.
I said, well, I'll have to ask. I mean, I know she enjoyed meeting you. So I called her, and she had that same sort of, this is really weird, but intriguing in terms of a life experience.
Well, you know who it is, right?
So he took her to dinner in San Diego, and then to see a Highlight game in Tijuana. I guess that was his standard first date.
Ooh,
he
a lot
said
of territory.
He said, Steve, I want you to know I didn't even kiss her goodnight. She was very nice, but all she did was talk about herself. And then I saw her on campus, and she said, Zeppo was very nice, but all he did was talk about himself. And then for years thereafter, when Zeppo would be at a party at Groucho's, he would pull someone over and say, this is Steve. He's a nice fella. He and I dated the same girl, but he got further with it than I did. So I now have the distinction.
That's a great story. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, how many people, plus meeting 3/5 of the Marx Brothers, which isn't a bad batting average.
Yeah. Oh, how amazing.
So after Groucho was gone, I got a job working at Universal Studios in the steno pool, typing scripts on a Selectric 2 from 11 to 8 every day. Rockford, Meta, Kojak, Animal House, and Coal Miner's Daughter.
How were they done back then? Were they handwritten, and then you got to type?
Some of them were handwritten. Some of them were hammered out on a regular typewriter, and
you had to format them.
They would break them up into batches and give them to different typists who would type them onto masters that were sent to the print shop and then replicated. And then revisions were, let me see, white, pink, blue, yellow, green was the rainbow. Each time they'd have changes in them.
Yeah.
So, and as I'm typing these things, I'm thinking, I bet I could do something like this. They don't have to be Pulitzer Prize winning, brilliant thing, you know?
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, to drop a name, I became friendly with Dick Cavett as a result of my Groucho connection.
Oh, okay.
We corresponded during my Groucho 3-year stint.
Yeah.
And then when Groucho died, I figured, well, I guess Cavett's not going to stay in touch with me because the pipeline into all the drama at Groucho's house is over. And instead, he called me and he said, listen, I hope just because Groucho's gone, we're not going to lose touch. And by the way, I've shown I hope you don't mind, but I've shown some of your letters to Woody, and he says they're very well written. So I emptied the urine out of my shoes. This double whammy. And so Cavett has been a sort of big brother in a non-Orwellian sense.
So he was kind of your mentor too, then?
Yeah. I mean, he's the one, he hired me out of the steno pool to move to New York to write for him at HBO. He believed in me.
That's so cool.
He gave me, quote, my big break. And I drank in the whole Manhattan experience, which was another adventure. And then I got him to write on something back in LA. So I ended up moving back here. And writing, I wrote episodes of Murder, She Wrote and Simon and the new KRP in Cincinnati and Sliders and other things. And then in the meantime, people kept saying, you ought to write a book about your Groucho adventures. And I thought, I was only there for the last act. And there's just, and I thought maybe I
was a big act.
Cobble together some of the best stories for an article for Vanity Fair or Esquire or something. So I started writing and ended up with a book-length manuscript.
Oh,
and
wow.
I raised eyebrows, my years inside Groucho's house. And Dick Cavett wrote the introduction, and Woody Allen said it was one of the best books about a show business icon he'd ever read, which was very gratifying.
That's so cool. Yeah.
And I eventually after many rejection slips, got an agent, and many more rejection slips, got a publisher.
Oh, wow.
And now it is being developed as a motion picture.
So cool.
With Jeffrey Rush champing at the bit to play the elderly Groucho.
Oh, that's cool.
It's been a remarkable, I mean, the Groucho experience changed my life because it shifted me over to writing and entertainment. And then writing about that led to being a published author, and now, co-producer on a movie about a part of my life with people playing people I knew, including someone playing me at 20 with my mutton chops and full head of hair and mustache.
So cool. Aww.
So it's been an interesting journey.
Yes, well, and that's what it's all about. And it's very different now than it was 70s, 80s, 90s. How have you kept up with the change? There's some things better, like with rewrites or writing our screenplays. But what do you think about all of that?
Well, it's gotten more insular. Most TV shows now are staff written. So if you're not on the staff, it's tougher for freelancers. Because in the 80s and 90s, my agent would arrange for me to go pitch stories to a show, and I would sit down with a legal pad and come up with possible story areas. And then you go and pitch those, and if one intrigues them, then they send you home to flesh it out a little more. And if they like that, they can send you the script. And then eventually the staff would tinker with it, but you still have a solid chance at being one of the writers. But between the fact that it has gotten so staff written and the fact that I'm now a living fossil, not unlike the horseshoe crab or the ancient lungfish, the coelacanth.
I'm right behind you. I get it.
Off the coast of Madagascar. I have to face the fact that I'm not in demand, for that. And so it's been self-generated stuff. I mean, like the Raised Eyebrows book and film. I've also done voice work for radio and for animation.
I was going to say, I saw a bunch of animation in your background too. So.
Yeah, I worked on some of the Charlie Brown specials, and I did several voices for Frosty Returns.
Oh, that's so cool.
And I was hoping that, I thought maybe what they'll do is staple this to the end of Frosty the Snowman, and every year it'll become part of the beloved holiday classics. And sure enough, at 8 o'clock they run Frosty, and 8:30 they run Frosty Returns, and then I get a nice residual check for the work that I did many years ago.
Those things are timeless.
Oh, yeah. And working on that was great fun because the other people doing voices were John Goodman and Jan Hooks and Brian Doyle Murray and Andrea Martin.
Did you guys all go in together and play off of each other, or one at a time? Yeah,
around microphones. And also sang, there was Frosty the Snowman, and then another song about snow that was written just for that special. And then there was a little girl who was the star because she's the one that interacts with Frosty the Snowman. And I remember that she was very professional, but I didn't remember much about her personality. And she grew up to become Elizabeth Moss.
Oh, no way. I didn't know that.
She was so I worked with Elizabeth Moss, but I didn't realize it.
He's wonderful. Yes.
And I think she was 9.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been, and I have sort of a flair for voices, and but there's no magical route to staying employed or.
I started pretty late in my career. I had a performing arts academy, and I went blind. And through that process, I can see some now. I still get treated, but through that process, I became a writer. And it was the craziest thing. And then I started, making movies and writing. I was into music, and I found out I love writing more than I loved music. It's crazy, but I started
that
late.
You followed the path instead of saying no. I decided I'd do this, so I'm not going to get distracted by that. Instead, you let the stream flow in the direction it wanted to.
Yeah, it just kind of happened. And I love writing. I love telling stories. I've been doing it since I was a child. I used to, when I was 5 and 6 years old, gather all the kids around in Ohio and we'd sit on the sewers and I would tell them terrifying stories as the sun was going down.
Ooh.
And eventually all the parents started calling my mom and they're like, we cannot have your child around our children anymore because they can't sleep at night.
You were canceled before it was
canceled
popular.
at like 6. It was funny.
Wow.
Yeah, eventually.
How flattering that your off the top of your head imagination created such vivid images that you were banned in Ohio.
Yeah, but starting late, I am already at that point. It's a little more challenging. So I do tend to if people aren't lining up for you, make your own stuff. That's kind of what I always tell people. Don't let the no's discourage you. Find a way through that door or make your own things. It's interesting. What advice would you share to somebody now, that 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old in entering the industry? Don't say run.
My best advice is not to take anyone's advice including that. Because, as I say, there is no magical formula. So when you have people saying, I'll tell you exactly how to do it, make a list of 3 blah, blah, and be sure to always do this and make sure and double space. And it's like, it may have worked for them and it may work for this person.
Right.
But I guess the encouraging thing is there are so many different roads that can lead to something you've written or created being seen by someone. And now, of course, with the internet and
there's
YouTube,
so many networks, and
you don't have to rent a 16 millimeter film thing. You can just hit record and all of a sudden it's blasted out there.
That's so true.
Persistence is important. That's a tough thing as well, because you don't want to give up at the first rejection. On the other hand, to bang your head against the wall until you're living on the street because of your art is not the best way to make, to live a life.
To get through,
You can't know as it's happening if you are being foolish or persistent but you do have to have some sense of, I've been trying this for 37 years and no one answers my calls.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
That it's as someone said, if 10 people tell you you're drunk, you should probably lie down. I think Oscar Levant said this. If you're at a party and 10 people, one at a time, 10
That's
people
such a good,
drunk, you should probably go and lie down.
Oh my God.
But that you shouldn't be discouraged from following your muse or compulsion, whether it's, poetry or movies or children's books or whatever. Acting is harder to do in a vacuum because you need someone on the other side. You need an audience. But, again, there's, putting together your sample reel to show. And do
you think things are better now with all the technology, that it's, better for, as a whole, for people in this industry?
Well, part of the recent strike was over artificial intelligence.
Which is scary.
You never hear about artificial stupidity. I guess because there's enough genuine.
Maybe it's real. Yeah.
So, nothing, it's like nothing is good or bad. It's what you do with it. That genie is out of the bottle, just like social media, which I love for being able to spar with friends and carry on a dozen conversations at once or spread the word.
Yeah.
That, there's a new thing to read or podcast that I was on, for instance, just to pull something out of the hat. But then there's all the mis and disinformation and anger that gets stirred up. And
there's a lot of that
end up hating each other that had been friends for years because of what they read on social media. So it's what you do with it. And, the same with CGI and artificial intelligence. So, I don't know, better or worse. It's hard to evaluate, qualify it like that.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I honestly did not know about the until the strike, just how serious the AI issues were for writers and for actors. And it was the strike I started reading, and I'm like, oh, wow,
Yeah, they fed my book into this machine and then told it to use it to, or
to write a screenplay.
Certainly with actors, you can take dead actors and put them into your movies if you want, or make them, this also gets into the whole deep fakes thing where I shudder to think about what the political commercials are going to be for the 2024 election, because they're so good at making things. You can make someone say anything.
You can. My kids have been telling me about that. They're 28 and 22. And I was like, there's what? Yes. And I didn't realize what was happening to stars and things with these deep fake type events. I don't want to talk about them too much because they're not appropriate, some of them, but I was like, you what? And now
there's also things like the de-aging of Harrison Ford.
Okay, I might like that one. Could I have that one? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah.
We want it for real life.
Yeah, it's true. It is true. Well, you have been awesome to talk to. Is there anything coming up that you're working on that you want to share about the Marx film?
Well, my focus is going to be on lining up the ducks for the Raised Eyebrows film.
Yay! That's so cool.
Now that the strike is over and we can go back to
I love it. I love it. If people want to find you, where do they look? In your house?
Under any moist rock.
Ooh.
No. Wait. I do have, my book, Raised Eyebrows, is on Amazon in book and Kindle and audiobook with me doing all the voices and reading it.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you. If they would like to get a signed or personalized copy, they can order it from my website, which is Steve Stoliar, STOLIAR.com. And I would be happy to set them up with that. I'm on Twitter, which I will never call X, the same way Grauman's Chinese Theater was never Man's Theater or the TCL Theater. You can't just buy something and make it Doug's Eiffel Tower,
Yeah.
Or Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. I guess.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's so funny.
Anyway, but yeah, I'm around and it's not too hard to find me, and I hope you don't have malevolent purposes in tracking me down.
Oh, no, we're good. I had to think about it. No, we're good. I'm just kidding. Well, I love to wrap up my show with 5 goofy questions. So if you're game, I'm going to ask them now.
I'm game.
Yay. Okay. All right. First question.
I may not answer them, but I'm game.
Oh, well, if you don't answer them, I'll make up something. Yeah, maybe. And I'll use your voice. I'll try to do your voice.
You can replicate it with artificial intelligence.
Oh, God. I'm not that smart. So. Okay, first question. What is your favorite food to eat?
Oh, food to eat?
Yeah, not to look at.
Because, Cezanne would paint food, but you're asking what I like to eat. I like to eat all sorts of things. I like sandwiches, and I like chocolate more in brownie or cake form.
Yeah.
I like Chinese, Mexican. There's no specific I would kill anytime, anywhere for noodles Romanov.
Ah, okay. Well, that's kind of good, right? Okay, this question's a little more serious, but what is something that inspires you or motivates you in life? Non-film related, non-writing.
Saving democracy from the right, which is anything but conservative. They've become radicals who have somehow come to believe that destroying the Constitution and law and order and democracy makes you patriotic.
No.
And that's a tough one because there's no easy fix for that. But that does occupy a lot of my cranium and I will type myself hoarse on social media.
Oh, wow. Well, you know where I live, so yeah.
Ohio, high in the middle, round in the ends. Ohio.
Oh, that's where I was born. I'm in Florida right now. I'm going to AFM, though, in November, so I'll be in California.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay.
I'm excited. Yeah. Okay. Next question is, what is something you have always dreamed of doing, but you haven't done yet, like a bucket list item?
Clean my apartment.
You got some kids? Aren't your kids supposed to do that? No, I don't know.
I have a cat, and he's not that helpful.
Oh.
Honestly, he'll do some light cleaning, but he's afraid of the vacuum cleaner.
He might lick your nose or something, right?
Yeah. We're both afraid of the vacuum cleaner, which is why
Me too. Yeah.
My bucket list consists of making a bucket list. I don't think in terms of broad dream. If only I could, I would love to.
Me either. Yeah.
But the positive side of that is that I can be content with not very much. I don't have to be fabulously wealthy. I don't have to drive a shiny car. I don't have to be able to drop everything I'm doing and fly to Tibet if I want to. I can be content, with my cat and friends, and it's not so bad. So,
that's kind of what life's about, right? That means you're living fully. You're good with what you have in the moment. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
More or less, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. All right. A fun question.
They're all fun questions. When I get finished with them, they're all fun questions.
They're all fun, yes. I need to think of some good ones, but I'm not good at that. So,
okay,
all right.
Give me bad ones.
Okay. What is your favorite song to sing at the top of your lungs when you drive in the car? Do you have one? Do you drive?
I do drive. Every dusk I take a 4-mile walk.
Oh.
And people are always surprised that I don't have an iPod with me.
Oh.
And I tell them it's because my brain is constantly on shuffle, and it will change from walk to walk. And sometimes I don't tend to sing, but I hum and have a good sense of rhythm. So some part of me is keeping the beat. So sometimes it will be a Beatles album with the songs in order. Sometimes it will be Gershwin songs. Sometimes it will be the Lovin' Spoonful. Sometimes
I love it.
Will be Rolling Stones or Beach Boys, a lot of classic rock. And one just kind of dovetails into the next. It's like I'm a DJ that dials down one and dials up another.
That's cool.
So I seem to be constantly humming something, but there's no specific single song.
I hum a lot.
On shuffle.
So much so that I get yelled at. It's like, Renelle, stop humming. We're at the dining table, or But
if it's in lieu of conversation, then other people would be offended by that. But if I'm just by myself, which I am walking,
then you're okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
I run into an occasional coyote, but 2 nights ago.
Oh, for real?
Very
nice.
He did not devour me.
And you're in LA?
Yeah.
In the city? And it's got coyotes?
It does.
I love it.
Coyotes, raccoons, skunks.
Everything.
Because there's still a lot
backyard.
Of foliage and bushes and all that sort of thing. So you do. It doesn't take much. Especially if you drive up into the hills, Laurel Canyon, and all that, you'll see deer.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, this is so cool. Here are these multi-million-dollar homes with these famous people living there. Yeah. And there's a deer.
I love it.
I've seen coyotes.
We lived in Moore Park. I think I lived there for a while when my kids were little, and I think we saw bears even.
Oh, my. And remember, Moore Park is crack room backwards. Oh, hello? Are you still there? Please.
Yeah, I'm still there.
Your call is very important to us. Please.
I'm spelling it in my head. I'm like, it's what? I love that. Oh my God, that's so funny. All right. Last question. And I I could guess the answer, but maybe I've got an idea. What is your favorite movie?
Oh, God, I can't do it.
Yep.
I can't do it.
It's not a Marx Brothers.
I used to be able to do things like favorite or top 10 or something.
I don't have any.
I've seen so many. I just can't. I can't. Although I suspect it would be something from the 30s as opposed to medium recently.
Yeah.
Or silent.
Oh, my God.
But man, between the Marx Brothers and the early Universal horror films and The Wizard of Oz and The Awful Truth with Cary Grant and Irene Dunn.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And The Blue Angel with Dietrich. And I don't know. There's too many. And then all the noirs that are wonderful to immerse myself.
I'm supposed to stop the interview after the 5 questions, but I have a question I'd love to ask you. What do you think of today's technology, the HD? It kind of bothers me when I'm watching a film. I can see their pores and I sort of miss the old style of film.
Yes, also the swish pan, I think, is gone, which is, it has nothing to do with brooms. And I have nothing to do with brooms since my apartment needs cleaned. But I digress. In older movies, when the camera would zap from left to right, you would get a blur.
Which was so cool.
You would see someone sharp, and then there'd be a blur, and then there'd be some other part of the room.
Yeah.
Now, because of technology, it keeps trying to catch and focus on things.
Yeah.
So it isn't as smooth. So I don't like that. Also, in terms of technology, I used to love to show people animal crackers as an example of stationary microphones, because the boom hadn't been invented yet. And they had to hide the microphone in different parts of the set.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, when Zeppo makes his entrance, I used to show people that as he turned his head, you would get, I represent the captain who insists on my informing you of these conditions under which, but because of technology, they have, quote, fixed that.
They move with you, or you have your laugh.
The audio, because some 20-something guy is sitting at a console saying, oh, there's a dropout in the audio there. We can fix that, and I can fix that. It's fixed.
Yeah.
It's like, no, now you've taken away a piece of the artifact value. So anyway, as I say, technology is neither good nor bad.
It's different.
Whether it is used for good or evil.
I just don't like change. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. But,
I prefer folding money.
Well, you have been amazing to talk to. I've loved talking to you. Thank you so much for just hanging out with me today. I hope you'll come back and talk to me again.
Movie Making with Renelle Golden is brought to you by Samira Entertainment, supporting indie films and the filmmakers who create them. Stop by their website to learn more. www.samiraentertainment.com. That's www.samiraentertainment.com. You've been listening to Movie Making with Renelle Golden. Be sure to come back for our next episode where we bring you the people who make movies you love. Got a topic about filmmaking you want to hear on our podcast? Send us an email at moviemakingpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.